Beata, thank you so much for having me at your place. Thank you so much for joining me on the I Wonder podcast.
Right, you're welcome. Thank you for the invitation. Pleasure. Happy to be here.
Now, you work with children of all ages through the Breath Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And through my experience of being a kid for one, and also partially working with kids or just witnessing them, they have this childlike wonder. Everything is their first time, right? Every breath is, their next breath. Every new activity they join on is the brightest, the newest thing. What have you learned from kids working with them? And do you feel like we can possibly engage in this childlike wonder even now as adults?
Good question. Thank you for asking. So I've been working with kids since I was 19 years old, and I started at Cubbies, which is like an adventure playground in Fitzroy. And it's very culturally diverse, like mostly African kids, but from all different parts of Africa. And I guess they're the kids that I've spent the most time working with. So over 13 years in a social work role, but with some guided breathing and movement towards the end. And just being in community with them and like holding space for them and learning from them, I realized like there's some very direct like honesty that they bring. There's this comfortability in their body and in their movement, which may be cultural as well with that group, but love to dance, like love to express, love to mostly hip hop, but listen to their music and like fully let go. There's not this shyness that I experience maybe just growing up in Australia. Less reserved, like more willing to be themselves authentically and give that fully without like a fear of rejection or without this like self-conscious notion or I don't know, this feeling of like repression that sometimes I experience as a grown up. And I guess working with them just reminds you who you are. And when they meet you with that level of honesty, it brings it out in you. Like you have to be as honest, as authentic, as genuine. Otherwise, like their bullshit radar or like they do reconnaissance on you constantly and they have the best read. And so if you're a little bit tired, if you're a little bit grumpy, something's gone down in your life and you're not 100%, they feel it immediately. And I learned over time it's just better to be honest. Show up as you are, whether you're your most enlightened self or you're experiencing challenges and you're just holding it together. Show up and don't try and mask any of it because they'll see it.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of like eat you alive if you're trying to fake it. Yeah. So honesty on like the first thing, truth, freedom of expression in the body and the voice, and this innocence, this trust in life. And I think over time and through practice over the last 15 years, I'm in a process of remembering that for myself. Like remembering that I trust reality, remembering that nature or spirit, however you want to call it, is a force of support and goodness and nourishment and evolution and wants you to grow and expand. And I think for a while there, particularly in my 20s, I was in a space of forgetting that. And the kids helped me to remember, and the practices like yoga, breathwork, meditation, music helped me to remember. Yeah.
So you lost that in your 20s. Do we want to talk into this possibly?
We can. Generally, I try not to tell story just because I believe that who you are now and how you show up is like enough. Like your presence now should be the thing that communicates where you're at, what you've moved through. I really believe it's like energetic, and that's the main part of our job is like to take care of your energy and to continue to learn and grow and evolve and be honest in the way you show up, because that's what helps people feel safe in your presence. Having said that, like I do teach trauma-informed trainings, and my personal trauma and experience of mental health challenges in my family is really what inspired me or like slapped me into doing what I do. Yeah. So I would not be doing this work if it hadn't have happened. So I just give you like the general overview. In my early 20s, had like a big traumatic event happen in the family with my dad, and had been like a pretty stable, healthy, middle-class family up until that point. No drama, no violence, like nothing big to speak of. And that event involved like pretty extreme level of family violence towards my stepmom, who's no longer with us. And that kind of threw my whole world upside down. And I guess when your primary caregiver no longer feels like a safe person, even if it's due to mental health, it's pretty hard to kind of navigate that as a 21-year-old, especially. Like, how old are you now?
21.
Exactly. So, I mean, you're way wiser than I was at 21. But I'm your age, and like literally just the whole planet felt like it was thrown upside down for me. So I initially went into like a pretty natural response of shock and like PTSD response. Didn't really have any tools to be able to regulate myself. Tried to use a little bit of like weed, a little bit of alcohol, partying, that kind of thing. But always knew that wasn't for me. Very sensitive, like a tiny bit and I'm gone. It's not good for me. Everyone's different with that stuff. But it took me a while, like maybe 8 years of therapy, like psychotherapy, before I could understand what had happened and how it was impacting the way I was feeling and thinking in my internal landscape. And even after 10 years of therapy, I still couldn't shift my relationship to reality. So I still felt like very introverted, kind of like hiding in this cave that I created for myself, showing up to an extent, but not in my full power, not giving fully, like socially anxious, hard to relate to my friends. They just hadn't shared the same experience. So it was quite isolating, I guess, the PTSD response. And mostly anxiety was the way it showed up in my body, in my physiology. And then I went to like one yin yoga class that my friend, my Chinese medicine doctor was like, just try. And honestly, at the time I thought, nah, yoga is for like rich, white, yummy mummies. I had this full judgment lens on at the time. I don't fit in.
At 21 or?
Yeah, it was probably 20. No, so that was, I was probably 26 by then. Yeah, it was much later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried the psychotherapy for quite a while, went to art school, tried art therapy, tried many ways, and the yoga, yeah, came much later. But it gave me this sense of like, holy shit, I'm actually releasing trauma in the present moment. Like I could feel my body softening. I could like breathe deeply. I had space. I could be in community with other people without needing to talk or make eye contact or relate in a way that was confronting for me at the time. And it felt really safe actually. And like a fucking revelation. I was like, what is this? Like I need to understand more because honestly, therapy is expensive and slow and maybe a necessary step in a process. But I got frustrated with it after 8 years and I needed to find a new way to understand myself. And for me, that was yoga and breathwork. And yeah, I just went to yin for quite a while because I wasn't physically strong enough to do a flow practice. I was like just anxious, lanky, like skinny, like not fit at all. Slowly built up to being out of flow. And then I was like, I'm going to do a teacher training just to understand what's happening because it feels miraculous to me. Like it literally felt like magic. Did the teacher training, very resistant to teach, still with this belief like if I'm hiding, if no one can see me, I'm safe. If I put myself in front of everyone, I could get killed, was my trauma belief, like story. Halfway through the training, my teacher was like, put me under the line of fire. She's like, nah, I can see that you have it in you. Let's go. Threw me in to teach like a bit of her class. And she's arguably like the best yoga teacher in Melbourne in a way. Like she's an absolute dynamite, like Dominic Salerno. She started Australian Yoga Academy. She's a mentor to hundreds of teachers, like incredible practice. total yoga geek, like obsessed, does an amazing 50-hour pranayama training in breathwork that I've done. And she really like gave me the perfect balance of fire and nurture. We did a lot of private one-on-one breathwork sessions where she helped me to regulate my nervous system. And yeah, then I started teaching as soon as I graduated. Hated it for the first like year. Like so anxious. Had my book with the perfect plan. It was like
Preparing for like 3 days before it starts.
almost that.
Yeah.
And then like, critical afterwards, like could have done more. And yeah, it really took about a year for me to like, it's an amazing healing process for yourself to move through like the inner critic, the perfectionist, putting yourself in front of people and just like giving authentically. And after a year, I was like, okay, I still have the book, but I'm not going to look at it. It's just going to be there as a safety net. And then after 2 years, I was like, you know what? Fuck the book. Like, I've got this. And now it's like 9 years later. I love it. I feel like I can be myself when I'm teaching or when I'm off the mat. And yeah, it's been like super therapeutic as a process. And now I feel like I'm way more engaged with community. I want to be out there doing things and giving back. And I had to kind of let go of my self-conscious ego that didn't want to be seen, because that social conscience in me, or like that desire to give the tools that I didn't have when I really needed them, was stronger than my shyness. And so it forced me out of my shell to be able to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's the case for most people? That we all have that?
Different. Like everyone's different. I'm sure everyone has their form of ego, but sometimes it's the cocky one or the confident one, and the shy one's no better or worse. Like they're both ego. It's just whatever you're working through individually. Like, yeah, for me, it was the very shy one.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be seen, but I'm sure there's plenty of teachers who are like, I am the best. And they need to humble a little bit, find that middle ground. Because it's not about you. You're just like being a channel of service. It's actually got nothing to do with you as an individual. Like, you're just trying to open and be as clear a channel as possible to deliver ancient wisdom. It's like over 5,000 years old. People have been practicing pranayama, breathwork, yoga. And yeah, when you realize that, it doesn't matter so much that you're in front of a group and you're being seen, because it's not about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned several times this buzzword of trauma. Now, obviously, you've lived it, you teach it, you preach it. But like before I started going into more inner work for myself, I got labeled at my school as the PTSD one. So leave him alone. And then I started to label myself as PTSD, traumatized, and I'd never actually understood what it meant. So for myself and for the listeners as well, do you mind if I ask you to talk into what trauma is, not just within your experience, but also just in the physiological level?
Yeah, sure.
And what's actually happening there?
Good question. So there's lots of different ways that you can describe or relate to trauma. But one way that I really love is, I think it's from Nadine Burke-Harris, and she's a GP, but she treats a lot of young people. And she's an integrative GP, so she's very holistic. And she describes trauma as like a response, or it's not what happens in the moment of trauma. Like often people think a traumatic event, or like someone dies as a car crash, you get bullied. Like there can be little microaggressions, like small little T's and big T's. Someone you love dies.
And complex T's, right?
Yeah, and complex trauma, like so many different labels within it. It's not the event or the moment that thing's occurring. It's the aftermath. It's what happens in response to that event that is the trauma. And that's when the nervous system comes in. It's when your physiology is reactive. And I believe that there's an opportunity in that aftermath to give people tools that they can use to support a healthier process of that event or of that challenge. I guess if you don't have those tools and you experience trauma, whether it's a big T or a little t, and it's all relevant and relative to your experience, um, it can be devastating. You can get stuck on that sympathetic nervous system overdrive, even on a subtle level, for years. And I really feel like I was there for maybe 8 years of my life, running on fight or flight mode. Go, go,
What does
go.
that look like?
For me, in the
Yeah.
physiology, don't know if I'm hungry or thirsty, not sure. So I can just keep going and survive off little bits of sugar or nuts or sweet things to like keep me going. It's adrenaline. Always a little bit sweaty and clammy, like a sore throat or like a locked throat. So hard to speak, hard to express like fluidly. And my breath short and shallow, or holding my breath unconsciously when I'm like thinking about what had happened or having a flashback, or even just day to day trying to continue with life, feeling like a fight because my nervous system is in that sympathetic overdrive. And it took me a long time to even want to come down to parasympathetic nervous system response, and to want to be able to rest in my body and be still and spacious and allow myself time, because that felt scary. It felt like if you slowed down, it's all going to come back up.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
if you just keep going, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, at least within my experience, when I've been in that state for a prolonged amount of time, my level of curiosity or wonderment or just ability to question anything is so little to none.
Mm,
So when I was in that state, or someone else is in that state, and you notice that, they're short and sharp of shallow breath, that
mm,
they can barely even get the next word out,
mm,
you see that their nervous system might be dysregular
mm,
or a little bit heightened on that scale of like that window of tolerance.
mm,
How would you sort of go about that in conversation with them?
mm.
Would you be like, you're dysregulated, you need to fix this? Or how can that person build curiosity as to what's on the other side?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because if you are in that kind of shock or PTSD response, sometimes you are not ready to receive help, or you don't have capacity because you're just trying to survive and you're using all your energy to do that. And so I never push anyone. I wait until they're ready and they come to me, for better or worse. I don't believe in forcing
Mm.
anything. And there's been times, even with family members, where I really wish they would come and ask, can you please show us some breath work to regulate, or can you give us some tools? But they're not ready, or they're not curious. And it has to be in their own natural timing. Like, if you try to give those tools before it's time, they can't receive it, and it might create a negative association with them and maybe block their ability to use them for healing later on when they are ready. So, nah, I really believe it has to come from them.
Yeah.
And when there's a curiosity and a questioning, happy to give fully, but not before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tricky when they're in that sticky zone. Maybe it requires some psychotherapy, like cognitively understanding it before you're ready to come to the body. But everyone's process is so different. I can't really say, it's like case by case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your take on the modern sort of mental health care system? I'm sure you got a lot.
Wow, you're really asking the big questions, Howie. Amazing. If you had to ask me that when I was 21, I was very angry at that system.
Mm.
I felt like I was blaming them for my stepmom losing her life because they misjudged my dad's condition at the time when he was dangerous, and they couldn't see that. And I wanted to take them down. I was like ready to become a lawyer and get in there and like fully destroy it, or like take down that system so it could be reborn in a more safe way. For me, now that I've processed that trauma, I've let go of the anger, and I can kind of see it with a bit more space and a bird's eye view, like it's 15 years ago. I can be more rational and see that actually I think preventative care is the way. And so, even relating directly to that experience, the thing that was missing was like early warning signs, awareness of early warning signs when someone's unwell mentally, and a lack of the system for me doesn't seem to provide preventative care. A lot of families lack education around it. And so they don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And tricky thing with some mental illness is as soon as you're over a certain line, like if it's mania, for example, you don't know that you're manic and you're in full denial and you think you're like Jesus and you can do anything and you're going to paint the most beautiful paintings in the world and you're basically a prophet in your mind. And so there's no way you're going to take yourself to hospital. Like you need supportive people around you who can call that and a team that takes care of that. Whereas from my experience, someone gets hurt because they let those early warning signs go and the person gets more and more sick or more and more manic. And then after the fact, someone's lost their life or someone's been hurt, then they come in and try and offer care for that person. It's too late.
Yeah.
In general, in the healthcare system, I would love to see practitioners, everyone working together, like more of this collaboration between doctors, psychologists, breathwork practitioners, yoga teachers, like the holistic and the medical side. And I'd love to see funding pumped into preventative care.
Yeah.
Like someone was telling me the other day, in Germany, the government is subsidizing or offering like yoga classes free for people as part of their healthcare system. Why don't we do that here? You know? Yeah.
It seems to be like yoga, breathwork, all of these things seems to be the last call on the mental health scale. Like people go, maybe first get on the medication, then start digging deep into the psychologist, psychotherapy, everything else like that. And it's very common that then they find breathwork or yoga or qigong or other like in-body practices, and they're just like, For me personally, I found breathwork straight away, so I was very grateful for that. But I find that it's always the last step, the last call, and it's always something that people sort of stick with and carry on with as well.
Yeah.
Not to say it's the best.
We're not biased.
No. What do you feel is the difference between that psychotherapy or that talking therapy over the practices that you perform?
I mean, I can only speak from my experience of it, but I feel like they're very different. Like, I think I touched on it earlier, but my experience of psychotherapy just gave me an ability to analyze my feelings, my thoughts, to understand that it was a natural response to trauma. And it also gave me some cognitive tools or ways of relating to myself internally to try and override and rewire that shock and that PTSD response in my brain. Like, for example, I used to have to walk up a big hill to go to uni and catch a train that was like an hour and a half because I couldn't afford to live close to my uni. And so I was share house at the time and I had like my big art folio, it was heavy and I was tired. I was like burnt out, chronic fatigue, anxious, trauma response. But I knew something in me knew you have to go to art school and you just have to make some work. Like it's healing, do it. But I remember I'd be climbing that hill like most mornings to get to the train and my inner dialogue was like, you can't do this. Just go back home and smoke a joint. You're too tired. Like, fuck this. It's too heavy. Everything hurts. Have no energy. Like, why are you bothering? Like, and psychotherapy gave me this tool of just laughing at that voice and being like, thanks, Beata. Amazing. Really appreciate that. Not helpful right now. I'm going to climb this hill. I'm going to get on that train. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to make some bronze sculpture. Like, fuck you. Like, for me, it had to be a little bit of fire because that's in me. And I kind of couldn't be too soft with it or it would overpower. So it was like a little bit fuck you and also just laughing at it, but giving it direct awareness so that once you look at something, it has to shift. Like we know this from our practice. And looking at it in that way helped me to shift it and shift the relationship with it. And then
is that ego?
I think it was a bit, yeah, like a shock response, but it was my ego trying to put me down. Yeah. And now it's much softer. Now it's like, it's all right, sweetie, you got this. Like it's way more loving. And I would have been like, ugh, at the time, just judging like so hard. Even the first time I went to yoga, I was like, are these people full of shit? Like, what are they saying? Like, I was really angry. Like, I couldn't stomach all of this like positive affirmation talk. And it just felt so far from my truth and my reality at the time. Yeah. And I still try to keep it pretty grounded and grassroots the way I teach. But yeah, I'm definitely a lot softer than I was. And I think that's thanks to those tools from psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's dealing with very much like the ego and the mind and things. How would you define the ego? Because it's a big word that gets thrown around like, oh, he's got a big ego, or oh, his ego got hurt. But I feel like in the Western or the modern complex of language, I feel like it's misconstrued of what the ego actually is.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? No. Like, it's your survival mechanism. It is the thing that tells your brain you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to take care of yourself. Like, in a way, it's taking care of you, but I just think it can get warped, maybe more from external pressure or society or these expectations. I guess at the end of the day, for me, if your anchor is internal and it's a trust in your breath, in your spirit, in your spine, for me, the spine's a big deal, rather than an external anchor, everything's good. If you don't know who you are and you're not connected with your breath, your spirit, your spine, however you want to call it, like nature moving through you, then maybe you're externally resourcing and you can easily get flung around by whatever the expectation of the moment is. If you're in the big city, if you're expected to hustle, if this, that, the other, you need to look a certain way for a certain job or person. I think ego can get carried away if it's externally oriented. But if it's internally based, it's actually a healthy, beautiful thing that keeps you alive, keeps you going, takes care of you.
What if that internal is like riddled with different internal dialogues that are going to sort of mess you around, like you were saying before?
Yeah, so that's like where I feel, and it's a perfect like lead back to your last question. That's where I feel the difference for me between psychotherapy and breathwork, because they're both helping to clear the lens, I think, so that you can see reality from a truthful perspective of clarity and kind of like remove all those murky bits and the stories or the, how did you just describe it? You said it well.
Different belief systems.
Riddled with those little belief systems inside you, or like the old stories, clearing them out so that you can see reality as it is, which may be like completely impossible this lifetime, like we can try, but like amazing to go for enlightenment this lifetime. But I don't know anyone who is seeing totally clearly. Like, everyone's got their own lens on life, and it's kind of beautiful and part of like our humanness. Yeah,
for sure. I was told from, I think, my partner, I think it was in like the yogi sort of language about what you were saying, reflecting things, but they talk on the ego or our internals as a mirror, and the different beliefs or ways in which we see things differently are just like smudges on the mirror, or maybe a bit of marker pointing to you, or whatever you see is like, that's stupid, or whatever else it might be within the beliefs. I find that a really good way of looking at it sometimes. But do you think the aim is to have a completely clean mirror, or just to be in control of what's smudged on it?
I mean, I personally, I'm going for acceptance of things, of reality, exactly how it is in this moment. And for sure, in the past, I was like a bit obsessed with healing, wanting to better myself, because I came from felt like a broken place in my early 20s. Didn't feel healthy, like wasn't willing to accept that as my life. But now I'm pretty happy just accepting reality as it is and trying to be as compassionate as possible towards myself, because I know that there's a little bit of a danger of getting stuck on this like loop of self-improvement, which is kind of fashionable now.
Yeah.
If it gets people to do the practice,
it's a good fashion.
Amazing. Yeah. It's better than partying.
Yeah.
But also, let's just remember that we're human and accept where we're at and give ourselves space to kind of enjoy. Like I've done a lot of work with my teacher over the last 6 years. I guess you could call it like spiritual work. It's 21-day retreats we do, and you sit and you free your voice and sing and connect to your breath and connect to silence in a group. And it's a very deep dive into like with the goal of freeing yourself, like liberation. And I love that work.
Mm.
It's given me so much. And at the same time, at the moment, I'm really taking a break from it and I'm allowing that to integrate into my kind of mundane daily life of teaching, taking care of the house, being in a relationship, watering the garden, like these simple things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. Sometimes the energy's there to grow and expand and adventure and like do those deep dives.
Yeah.
Have those awakening, like liberating experiences. And other times it's like, okay, it's time to just take some space and see who am I now? Like, what has shifted in me and how does it present in my reality day to day?
Yeah. What is yourself and your spiritual guide and this group count as liberation? That was one word you mentioned before. What does that feel like? Like, what is?
Again,
what
I
is
can
that?
only talk from my experience. Everyone will be completely different in how they would relate to that word. And to be honest, it's hard to even give it a word because it's such a abstract expression of life moving through you. And I mean, I've had so many different experiences of it over 6 or 7 years doing that work. Some of the ones that really stick in my mind is like feeling like I'm way bigger than my body, like the edges of my skin are not the limitation, and feeling like very expanded, almost like I could grow or burst out of my body. Like, and for me, that's a feeling of like infinite life force in this temporary vessel, very tangible, and like many, many, many kinds of like sensory experiences over that process. But the whole teaching is don't get attached to that. You know, there's also been times where it's like really painful and you're like crying or like releasing, like sighing, like it's both extremes, you know, and the idea is not to look for either one, just to be okay with what's arising now, let it move through and try and not judge it, like just let it be. Yeah. And not get attached to the pleasure or the pain because it's like all part of the experience.
And what does that look like or feel like in an everyday life? Be able to integrate some of that so that way does it make these things less boring or less painful or less mundane, or are they still just the same?
Yeah, you're really good at the questions. So at the moment, when I'm remembering, it makes everyday life much easier. I'm also like a very emotional, sensitive person in general. So I do experience like big emotions, but I think I'm able to let them move through now and not get stuck in them where I used to get stuck. And when I'm remembering like who I am and connected to my breath and spirit day to day, I can find like these little moments of joy or wonder. But I've kind of always had that, to be honest, even before doing these retreats and stuff. I feel like there's this big kid in me that's always been there and never kind of got squashed by adulting. Even with the trauma and everything that's happened in my life experience, she's still very much alive.
Yeah.
I love her. Like she's so innocent, so sweet, and she can just see beauty in like the light on a leaf or, you know, a flower or the ocean or like everything sensory, color. She's fully present and connected with that.
Yeah. Is that the goal?
I love that. I mean, to me, that feels like my true nature.
Yeah.
And it's like the same as when you work with the kids. They're in that state pretty consistently, especially the young ones. I'd be pretty happy if that was like a consistent feeling in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like it can be, even, you know, living in the city or living in Melbourne it's a pretty busy city. Do you feel like that is tangible or available.
It's much harder, but
Yeah.
it's definitely accessible. And I've learned over time, like for me, my story is that it's easier when I'm near the ocean because I grew up there and I feel best in water. Like it's just so calming. I'm
Yeah,
like
they would
my
hear that.
happiest self.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why? Why am I still here in South Yarra? Like, what am I doing? It's convenient, yes. But I think it's also the social conscience thing that I can't shake. I want to do the work on the ground with the people. There was a period of time where I definitely went into like a deeply meditative, I would say self-absorbed zone for about a year when I did my yoga teacher training. And I lived alone.
Your first one?
Yeah, the first one, the baseline training. So 9 years ago. I was like having a lot of those elevating experiences and I just wanted to stay there. And I got a bit attached to it. And probably for about a year, I felt like I almost became a little bit apathetic. Like I took it too far. I was really off on a cloud in my own little world. My friends were like, we can't really relate to you anymore. You're just always so blissful. Like
Apathy meaning like you had no desire.
Like I didn't care either way. Like what happened? And people would like, oh, do you want to come for dinner? Like, where do you want to eat? I'm like, I really don't care. Or like I someone ran into the back of my car on Hoddle Street. And I was like, I could not care less. Like nothing fazed me. But it was getting beyond that point of being a healthy, like non-dualism. And it went over the edge of that and became a bit apathetic. And then I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You need to bring it back down to earth. Like you've gone into this la la land and it's not.
Yeah. How'd you realize that?
It's escapism. Like,
yeah, it's somewhat disassociating.
Yeah. Like another trauma response, really. And it was masked as like a healthy process because it was through yoga, through pranayama, through breathwork. Yeah. Like a lot of down-regulating breathwork.
Yeah. Do you feel like people get lost in that? Like in not just yourself, but just in the spiritual community, yoga, whatever else it might be? I know in my experience, no judgment to these people whatsoever, but I've met a lot of people and they're very blissed out. And it seems so amazing. It's like, whoa, how could I get to that level? But do you feel like it can also be damaging if that's their primary or only state of living?
I guess if it's a spiritual bypass, like if you're not addressing the core wound or the issue, or you're not able to relate to people in an authentic way in your life, then it's not balanced or healthy, right? Like I believe in like being a householder and having a practice.
Yeah.
Doing both. And maybe there's moments where you get to go and connect with that spaciousness. Like a lot of yoga teachers in Melbourne go to India, like have an experience of being on retreat or being away from their householder responsibilities and going deep into that zone. And why not? That's beautiful. But if you just run away there forever and don't come back to serve the world, maybe we need some people doing that. But if everyone did that, we'd be in big trouble because for me, it's like boring to ascend by yourself and sit on top of the mountain and watch everyone else suffering down there. What's the point? Like, it's very lonely. Let's hold hands and like climb that beast together, you know?
Yeah. I was thinking on the drive here that for me in my own life, the most important thing to me is my connection and experience with others and sharing that. It's like my favorite book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've read it 12 times now. I just finished it again. I study that book because it's, learning how to have conversations and learning how to have conversations where you feel good and the rest of the other party also feels good leaving the conversation, and that's the goal. And I only just realized that on the drive today. I was like, I feel like that's the most important thing for me in my life at the moment. Just connecting and experiencing life with other human beings. What do you feel like is the most important thing? It's a huge question. What do you feel like is the most important thing in your life at the moment?
Yeah, good question.
It could be a why. It could be like a mission or a purpose that you're driving towards even.
And thanks for sharing. It's beautiful to hear that is yours, especially at 21. Amazing. yeah, that you have that awareness. And I guess we are relational beings, so it makes perfect sense. Like, I'm sure you know, like being in relationship with friends or your partner, it's like the clearest mirror you get. And so the fact that you're dedicating your time and energy to improving that and working on it, amazing, beautiful.
It helps. I'm secretly an introvert.
No.
Nah, but it helps that
Yeah.
within the book that I studied, the How to Win Friends, the biggest technique was to not say much.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I can just start conversations, say 3 words, and then this person will feel on top of the world. And like they are so powerful. For me, just saying the right amount of yes to guide them telling their own story and make them feel important. And it's the best thing for an introvert because I was like, I don't actually have to put myself out there or don't talk much, but I can learn ways to still make them feel really good.
Be the observer, totally. And honestly, so many people just want to be heard and seen. Like even when we're holding space for breath work or yoga, a lot of the time your students come and they just want to have a chat. Like they come for the chat. Of course, they'll do the class, but they're like, want to get something off their chest. And you just like, often it's as simple as just hearing them and being present listening, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. Like they're sitting there thinking about the next thing they're going to say or worried about if they're responding correctly or whatever. And I think it's something we as practitioners can offer, like just being present, holding space like you're doing right now for me beautifully to allow people to express and feel heard. It's super healing, like just that. Yeah.
So back to the question.
Yeah, so I've managed to avert the question. Just giving myself a little bit of space. The most important thing. So I feel like for me, I feel like I know what I want to do and I'm just not sure how to do it. So right now, it would be aligned with my work with Breath Circle. I can talk to it personally and professionally, but professionally, taking from my life experience, I'm really keen to integrate like social work, trauma-informed yoga, and to bring them together to support young people with early intervention strategies through Breath Circle, this organisation that teaches that in schools. And I keep taking these steps towards making that happen. For example, like our training earlier this year, we've now got a team of 17 people ready to go and share that work. And it feels like it's a very big system, the education system, that's quite archaic in some ways, and it's quite challenging to kind of get the trust and the support and the funding to be able to do that. So I'm like super clear on the mission and what I want to achieve, and I believe I've got an amazing team of practitioners ready to go. Like I know the content is quality. I've done all my training, I've lived it, I've experimented on myself over 15 years. I know it works if if you're aligned with it and if you take it on and believe it and practice it regularly. Absolutely it works. And so now it's just this challenge of, okay, so how does that go from me offering that at my capacity to a broader team offering 10 to 15 programs, per term? And how does that eventually get to like being part of the Australian curriculum and being written in so that it is like self-regulation is a priority in the classroom for all teachers across the board, whether it's private school or public school or like a more religious school, doesn't matter. It's accessible to everyone. So that's probably what's most important to me right now, professionally.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm just like really in a zone of like resting, taking care of myself, listening to my body, like challenging when I need to, resting when I need to. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a zone where I kind of have done what I want to do by myself and I'm ready to kind of grow and support more in my personal life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you also just got on this adventure with the Monash University doing meditative music.
Yeah, so it's a collaboration. Basically, I always wanted music to be part of Breath Circle's offering. The focus is the breathing techniques and some somatic practices and movement, but the music, I felt like I was bringing it in, but I'm not a musician.
Mm.
And I have these friends who are like very talented musicians. So I invited them to collaborate, and they composed 6 pieces for meditation based on the elements of nature. And we've recorded them and paired them with breathwork that also aligns with those themes of nature. So wind, water, earth, fire, space.
Why is that?
Because those are the themes of Breath Circle. So when I first started writing Breath Circle, I was traveling around the world, gypsy life. I had my little notebook, and I had my teacher Amit from the Music School of Life mentoring me. And we talked at length about like what's the best way to theme and structure the program to make it relatable to young people, and came to the idea of nature. Like, it's all around us, it's inside you, everyone can relate to it. It speaks directly to your physiology. And so we went with that. And yeah, we wanted it to flow beautifully. So the music aligns with the breathing techniques. For example, like Siddhali Siddhkari, the cooling breaths from yoga, go with the water composition. So the session might look like 15 minutes of breathing techniques to cool the body down, calm the nervous system, some somatic practice, or like a gentle mindful movement into restoration, laying down, listening to the music for meditation on water. Yeah, and we had our first pilot of this live at McKinnon Secondary, which you came to.
Yeah.
But yeah, just beautiful to see it played live, almost like a mini orchestra vibe, and to see how the breathwork weaves in with the music.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, I listened to one of your podcasts on the way up here,
Mm.
and you were talking into how parents and teachers can help regulate and ways in which they can go about helping their kids, especially with ADHD or potentially ASD. And I wanted to challenge something that came up within this.
Okay.
I feel like if a parent has a child who's very emotionally dysregulated and within their nervous system, within their emotions, everything, they're not eating right, they're not sleeping right, and then the parents are trying at their most to regulate their kid, would it not be best for the parents to regulate themselves first? Would that be?
Yeah.
I was thinking that throughout that the child can't really. I don't think they'd be able to actually understand what it would be like to breathe slowly or to have a calmed nervous system. That's the biggest thing within ADHD. It's just and a lot of also ASD is they can't sort of recognize the pattern or the emotions that are going through their body. It's all very unknown. Yeah, what is your take on that?
Absolutely. So accurate. Co-regulation is key. And even in yoga teaching, like, I completely agree with you. If the parents are on board and they can take responsibility for their own nervous system, ideal. When the kids get a bit older and say it's a challenging home scenario and the parents are not interested, which happens often, then it's up to the kid. And maybe from like grade 4 up, they can self-regulate in that way. Grade 3 and preppies and like younger, pretty hard to ask them to do that. So a little bit depending on their function and where they're at cognitively. But I think in trauma-informed yoga teaching, for example, and it relates to parenting too, there's this thing called attunement of the nervous system. So if my nervous system is grounded, regulated,
As a yoga teacher,
as a yoga teacher, when I walk into the room, all the other nervous systems in the room are going to attune to mine. If I walk in a little bit stressed, anxious, jacked, like in a sympathetic arousal, it's going to be very hard for anyone to regulate because I'm leading the class. I'm the dominant voice in the room. Like, we try to avoid the power dynamic, but it's there whether you like it or not. And so I feel like it's almost our responsibility as teachers or caregivers or as parents maybe one day to stay as regulated as possible in our nervous system so that people around us can co-regulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how can a parent do that? Because I'm nowhere near a parent, but from the little of what I do understand, is so much responsibility.
Yeah.
There's, working all day to make the money. There's driving the kids to school, plus also taking care of all of the home, taking care of the food, everything else in between. And then they have to also do another yoga practice and breathwork practice. I could just sort of imagine a few people who are going through that and just being like, another thing, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, how do you feel like that's achieved? And when they're then a bit more regulated, would it still be like another thing, or would it
Yeah,
be a
it's a
little
good
bit
point.
easier?
Like, this is one of the biggest issues, huh? Like, parents are time poor.
Mm.
And it's interesting because I work a lot in culturally diverse settings or like lower socioeconomic schools. And then I've recently started working more in private schools, and they both have really big challenges, like not one more than the other. So in the private schools, you notice there's a bit more neglect because those parents are like earning lots of money, often out working or very, very busy and don't have time to love and nurture the kid as much. So it doesn't have to be a long practice. Like, it can literally be, this is why I'm teaching practical, accessible tools. It's like, can be 10 breaths,
Yeah.
can be 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It's honestly more, for me, a process of being educated to understand what are my early warning signs in my physiology when I'm stressed, so that I can always have like 30% of my awareness inside and 70% I give. So even if I'm with my kids trying to cook dinner, and I'm not a parent yet either, so it's all speculation at this table. We shall see. Talk to me in 5 years' time. I may have a different answer. But maybe I'm imagining I've worked all day, I've got home, I'm trying to cook dinner, the kids are crying, I'm like, there's a lot going on, and I'm used to like a very peaceful space right now. Like, I have a lot of silent time. I'm like pretty lucky the way I've designed my life. Like, I don't work full time. I like do my thing when I'm on my own terms. So it could be really confronting for me. Yeah. But if I'm 30% aware of what's going on inside my body while that's all happening, and I keep my awareness anchored there,
30% aware.
like inside, yeah, like internal awareness, then I feel like I can read the signals. So I might be like, oh, okay, I'm holding my breath, or oh, there's like a little bit of tension in my shoulder or my jaw, or like I might be able to catch myself in that moment. And even if I need to go outside, and there's a few practices you can do that are like a quick shift, like an energy release to down regulate, can take 30 seconds, 1 minute, come back in, shifted. Like, it's taking that responsibility. Even if it's like you get home, you're in your car, it's been a hectic day at work and you've got to walk into your family, 3 to 5 minutes, sit in the car, do your practice. And there's different ones that are appropriate for which shift you want to do.
I'd just like to thank our sponsor, Soma Cacao, for supporting this podcast. Soma Cacao produces the best, well-sourced, ethical cacao you can find anywhere. They source it all around the world from beautiful, rich spots. I'm currently drinking the Peruvian blend. It is delicious. Use Soma_Harvey_10 for 10% off your next order, and enjoy the potty. Yeah.
Yes, I do think it's possible. It just takes like a discipline and a commitment and a trust in that shifting through these mini little practices.
Yeah, I find it so funny whenever it still happens all the time. I had it yesterday where I'm running around. I feel like I'm on a time limit, and I hear this little voice in the back of my head, just like, stop and just take 3 breaths. I'm like, I don't have the time to stop and take 3 breaths when it's going to take me 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm in that moment, my nervous system, my body is telling me it's going to completely throw me off. It's going to take 5 minutes. It's going to throw me off my schedule. But the times that I have lent into that voice and actually just stopped, let my hands fall down, and then just gave in to 3 breaths, then I was like, okay, now everything's slower. Time is moving slower. It's so interesting.
So Wendy always says this, like, meditation doesn't take time, it gives you time.
Mm,
Like same with breath work. You think that it's this like big commitment you have to do, but it gives you so much clarity afterwards that you're way more efficient and productive anyway. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
What's one practice that everyone needs to hear?
I guess the foundational practice for me that I'm sharing at the moment, I mean, there's always diaphragmatic breathing, but I feel like that's kind of common knowledge anyway. So the one that I'm sharing most now is like a physiological sigh, but done with like a. Do you want me to take you through it quickly?
Please.
Yeah. All right. So I teach it in a way that I find is more accessible to young people because it's a little bit more playful, like it feels a bit weird in the body. So you just find your upright seat and then we're going to breathe in through the nose, but like a little pump. So imagine halfway into the low belly and then halfway into the chest. And then you're holding at the top and maybe bandhas are on. So Mula Bandha, Jalandhar Bandha, little throat lock, root lock. And then as you exhale, it's just that with a nice, soft, rounded spine. And I usually get people to really exaggerate the physicality of it. So as you inhale, we pump into the belly and then into the chest. You get a little taller, roll the shoulders back, like a very confident posture, and then contain it, hold it. And when you're going to exhale, imagine like gangster spine. Very bad posture, full release. A couple of rounds of that, like immediately I feel like a space cadet.
Yeah.
We went up to 2 rounds. I'm like oxygenated, I've contained, I've released, my diaphragm has been moving flexibly. Like you get that rush of oxygenated blood to your organs as you release. Like it's a sharp one, but it's down regulating at the same time.
Yeah.
I love that one.
And I can always be done. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Good. Is there anything else that you're working on at the moment? You got your breath circle movement coming along. We've just got into Parkdale Secondary, my old high school,
Yeah.
which I'm so excited for.
Yes. Do you want to tell them about that?
Oh yeah, I'm going back to my old high school to hold space for a 6-week program for year 12s and then also later on for the teachers as well, which I'm so pumped for, teaching about breath, somatic exercises, and just nervous system regulation in a trauma-informed way, which is the most common sentence, which is always, I wish I would have known that before.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Very cool that you're able to deliver it like so quickly after finishing as well. You've done a very big turnaround very quickly. It's amazing.
So is there anything else that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, so we're going to have a concert at the Melbourne Recital Centre for the Breath Circle and Monash Uni music and breathwork collaboration. And it's for like a mindful listening series they're doing in March. I think it's the 26th of March. So you're all welcome to come and listen. And I'm getting into more research with Breath Circle and I'm very excited about it because I feel like we're starting to have more people funding research for breathwork, heart rate variability, all these sorts of things. But we as practitioners have like the opportunity to engage our students in these kind of research projects. And so we did one for Breath Circle with Western Sydney University and we measured 100 young people's pre and post program responses after participating in Breath Circle, and it was over a 2-year period. We gathered their feedback and it showed an increase in their mental health post program, which is amazing. It's hard because it's a qualitative and quantitative data discussion. Like it's easy to measure things that are numerical and put them into a evaluation report and show statistics. When it's a physiological, subtle, emotional response to a practice that genuinely needs to be done consistently long term to see really positive impact, much harder to measure, but we're starting to do it.
Yeah.
So that little pilot study is enough to like merit a broader study, maybe with a control group and with different age groups participating in breathwork, yoga, movement, which we're working on now. And there's also some other research projects in the pipeline that I'm not allowed to talk about just yet, but I'm very excited for with one of the organizations that we work with. That could be incredible because it's to do more with adults and has the potential to collect some really clear, specific data
That would be
on their
changing.
physiology. Yeah. And to have like, say, have 3 or 4 groups, like a control group who don't practice, the maybe 30 or 40 adults who do yoga, breath work regularly and sound bathing, 30 or 40 who go to gym regularly and maybe do hot cold therapy, and then maybe 30 or 40 who just eat well and receive treatments, for example. And to be able to measure like that big of a group over time who are practicing in such a controlled way could be incredible. And maybe that kind of research could then, if it's published publicly and following the ethical guidelines of the university, which is how I want to do it, could change like the healthcare landscape big time if we can prove that preventative care is having such a strong impact in people's health.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. I like nerd out for the research.
Yeah.
More and more these days. Yeah.
Do you know much of the research about just what yoga provides and breath for the body?
Yeah,
in the statistic level?
Yeah, happy to share some resources if you like. There's some on the Breath Circle website already, just in relation to breathwork for young people, mental health focus. There's lots out there, but they're all quite specific, like niche groups. So it depends whether you're interested in like general public or clinical. But I'm really happy to share a few resources.
Yeah. Amazing. I'll put them down in the show notes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thanks so much for chatting and being so open.
Thanks for coming over, and thanks for the amazing questions and the deep dive.
Well, where can people find you? You do your breath circle. You've got some songs out on Spotify with the orchestra for the breath, all in nature. And you're also teaching yoga. Yeah, I teach public classes at Australian Yoga Academy. So Wednesday night, 6 p.m, 7:15 p.m. Everyone's welcome there. I teach at St. Haven. So for members, they're welcome there. And then I teach in schools, and I also do privates online, one-on-one yoga for anxiety or breathwork for anxiety. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thank you so much for having a good yarn. Pleasure. Yeah, thanks so much for leaning in. Deep chat. Thanks, Harvey. Thank you. Would you like a hug? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Love a hug. Oh, break the tape. Congrats for making it all the way through. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It really, really helps the show grow. And if you post this podcast on your story, I'll thank you personally. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to, throw us a follow and stay on this path of wondering. I'll see you on the next one.